Alright, so I've been on quite of an UDH journey. A lot of stuff that I could have avoided if I just used my brain a bit, but I thought I would talk you through that. And if you don't want to listen to my stupid story, you can just skip to the end and check out the final weight savings when it comes to this story. Yeah. Alright, let's put these aside and take a look at the basic UDH derailleur hanger. As you might know, this is SRAM's invention, and in my honest opinion, this might be the best thing SRAM has ever done. It's not really the best weight weaning option when it comes to derailleur hangers, and what I mean by that is we have a basic derailleur hanger, a standard one, 26.9 grams. You can definitely get a lot cheaper when you don't have to have this whole thingamajig. But the fact that this is a universal solution is quite an appealing advantage, and as more and more frames go down the UDH route, it will be easier for us nerds to really look out for the gems and save some grams, even if the base package is slightly heavier than a proprietary solution might be. Anyway, let's get into this. Let's just pretend that I have a bike with UDH. This is the standard one, like I said, and since I'm a Shimano user, I obviously want to use my Shimano Dura-Ace derailleur. The problem there is then I have to use my B-Link, which goes there. This usually is attached to the derailleur, of course, and yeah, you see. So what we're working with here is almost 40 grams, which should be able to shave off a bit. At least if we have a direct mount hanger, we can discard this piece, which should save us a few grams. So the first step in this journey was this. This is a direct mount derailleur hanger on the cheap, because I really didn't want to spend more money than I need to on these kind of sacrificial parts. This one is what it's called, Chaser. You can either buy this for about 60 bucks on TI parts, or whatever it's called, or you can go to AliExpress and get the exact same thing for, I think, 26 bucks. Stupid as I am, of course I bought the more expensive one before I knew that fact. But now you know. So, happy days. Done, dusted, 27.1. What did I say this was again? Yeah, almost 40, so a good chunk of a gram saved there. But then when I put this on my pretend bike that I might or might not have, I realized that even though this is universal, SRAM doesn't have the, what do you call it? The specs for an actual Shimano direct mount hanger. So this angle here actually sits too close to my pretend dropout. I might actually put in a little sneak peek picture here so you can see what I mean. This part hits the dropout, which means I can't get this in the correct angle to the back. Yeah, so universal my ass, but that's not SRAM's fault. I won't blame them for that, at least. So my journey continued. Then I actually started to scavenge on the AliExpress again and found this one. As you can see, the angle on the, you can see if you compare the bottom part here, you don't have that, so no clearance issues there. And if we look at the weight again, the first one, which was a fail, 27.2, and this one is 28.8, so slightly heavier, but at least it works. So now all happy days, oh yes. But then I will return to SRAM's specifications again. There's one problem I found with the UDH standard, not a problem, but I wish they would go with something else. The through axle thread pitch is 1 millimeters on UDH, as far as I understand. The problem there is, if you look for 1 millimeter thread pitch through axles, there are not actually that many options in terms of axle length out there. The perfect thread pitch, in my opinion, would have been 1.5 millimeters, because there's really an abundance of different specs and lengths and all kinds of sizes you can find for that. That would have been awesome. So the length I need for my pretend bike is like say from 163 to 165, and that turned out to be very hard to find, on the cheap at least. So to solve that, I found these. Well, I found one of these, and this is an UDH direct mount hanger, but with the 1.5 thread pitch, and here we have a 1.75 thread pitch as well. This was a mistake, and when I found these, I first and foremost put them in my, like, what do you call it, the favorite list or bookmarks or whatever. And when I actually went to buy them, I just pressed on my list and put it in the cart and didn't really double check that I actually picked the right spec. So I got this by mistake. So again, and had to order another one. The weight though is a bit heavier at 35.3 compared to 28.8. But I also got, where is it? This through axle, this name. This axle is, what was it? I think it was $4 or something like that. Put these aside now because these will not be used. So if we take this one, and I have my original axle here for my pretend bike, which is quite a beast at 51 grams. So the set in this case would be 79.9 grams, which is, yeah, quite a bit. And even though this hanger is heavier, together with this through axle, which is by itself 34 grams, we're still lighter than this. Now, you would think that it would end there, and some of you might even have had this big brain moment and screaming at your screens right now. Why don't they just move over the bolts to the lighter one? And yeah, and that's what I eventually discovered I could do as well. So if we take the no, not this one, which one is it? The 1.5 thread pitch, and this is reverse threaded, the lock, so to speak, and the standard 1mm pitch threaded one. Reverse threaded again. Still. Then I can use the lighter hanger with a 1.5 thread pitch and a cheap ass through axle, and then we're down to 63 grams. Man, all good in hood. I will say just because I just want to show that it isn't always 100% thing that these Chinese stuff are made so good. So if I just tried around a lot of different combination, and this one actually doesn't screw in at all. The other one seems to be compatible, but for some reason the thread on this one doesn't work. And you think that would be it, happy days, but then I had my other big brain moment. Started thinking about, wait a minute, don't I have a couple of other through axles lying around? I even made a video on this one, for example. This is the Carbon Tie X-Lock Evo. This is 166, which is on the cusp of being too long, but it has like a 1mm plastic shim on there. So the length would fit, and since this is now a 1.5 thread pitch, that should work fine. Oh yes, it does. It does. So now we're down to 60 grams even. 60 grams even for the hanger and through axle for my new pretend frame with UDH. To summarize this is what we came from. The original hanger with the building from the derailleur is 89.9 grams, and where we ended up 60 grams. So we saved almost 30 grams on this. That is fun stuff. So if you're looking for UDH direct mount hanger for Shimano, this would be a pretty good bet. I think this is about 23 bucks on AliExpress. Unfortunately then, if you need that 1.5 thread pitch, add one of these to the cart, which is not that bad. It's like 15 bucks if you want to, but as long as you don't need that 1.5 thread pitch, that's good. When it comes to the through axle that I actually won't use, but still I asked for the benches, it's because this is less than 4 bucks. And when you think of what this carbon tire costs, it's pretty ridiculous. Anyway, that was quite the long story. Well, let's end it there. Catch you in the next one. Peace.